The World Cross Country Championships is one of the most competitive races on the planet, and yet somehow, in many years, Kenya manages to dominate it. In 2007, Zerzane Tedesz from Eritrea won the race, but Kenya placed athletes in second and third, and fourth and fifth, and also sixth. In 1994, in the women's junior race, they placed first, second, and third, fifth, sixth, and seventh. In fourth place was Gabriela Szabo from Romania, so I guess this race was basically an Oreo.
Boo! Get the
Cancel.
fuck out of here.
Cancel.
I'm offended.
If you go back to 1993, they placed first, second, third, fourth, and fifth in the men's senior race. So, how do they achieve such spectacular results? Is it just the altitude, or genetics, or culture, training from a young age? Well, all of those are certainly factors, but I would say the main factor can be described in two words: survivorship bias. And that is going to be the topic of today's video. Training program that they go through is absolutely brutal. They take hundreds of the best athletes in the country and they put them through hell. The ones that survive are incredibly fast and destroy the rest of the world. However, we don't hear about the rest. We don't hear about the failures. We don't hear about the ones who got injured and they broke structurally, or they broke endocrinologically. They got overtrained or burned out. We don't hear about the ones who gave up. We don't hear about the ones who broke mentally. So we don't hear about the failures. And this is true of a lot of aspects of life. And this is the essence of survivorship bias. From a nationalistic point of view, this protocol isn't that bad. It kind of makes sense because you only care about performance on a national level, about what the best athletes can do. However, if you're training yourself, are you willing to be one of the failures? Are you willing to take these ridiculous training programs and apply them to yourself, knowing that you could fail and probably will fail, that you're probably not one of the lucky few, or the genetically blessed, or the extremely durable? Probably not. When it comes to training an individual, it is much, much different from training a group and trying to elicit just a few incredible performances. And you see this all over the time. Russia, Bulgaria, with weightlifting, they take a ton of athletes, start them from a young age, and the ones that burn out, the ones that don't perform, you don't hear about them. You just don't, because they don't exist. They don't rise to the top. This goes with a lot of things. If you see a workout program online from an elite athlete, you probably shouldn't copy it because you're not seeing their genetics. You're sure as hell not seeing any kind of pharmaceutical aid they have. You're not seeing a lot of what goes into making the training program actually work, and it probably won't work for you. If you see something on social media, it's probably best not to copy it. If you see someone who says they feel fine at 6 to 7% body fat, they might be lying. They might feel like shit all the time, and they do this for the clout, for the acclaim, for the money, for the fame. It might not work for you. You're seeing that 0.01% of people because those are the ones you only see. You only see the successes. Even when it comes to the actual drug use, there are some people who can take steroids at pretty hefty cycles all the frickin' time, and yet their organs are just extremely durable. They don't get heart problems or kidney problems or liver problems or side effects. They can just take basically whatever they want, keep a full head of hair, and look amazing and jacked and huge and shredded all the frickin' time. But that doesn't mean you can do the same thing, because most people will experience negative effects. And this goes for workout technique as well. I'm going to play a recent workout on the screen going up to a 160 deficit deadlift and then a 150 kilos for 8 set, all out AMRAP set. I'm showing you this not because I think you should copy it. In fact, I'm saying specifically, if most people deadlift with this amount of spinal flexion, they will have negative consequences. So I'm showing you this not to show you so you can copy it. In fact, usually I don't film deadlifts from the side. Why? Not because I'm afraid of feedback or I'm afraid of people, criticizing me, or because I think people are going to, say mean things about me. I'm used to this by now. I'm comfortable with it. If I would have snapped my shit up, it would have happened a very long time ago. I'm showing you this because it is an example of survivorship bias from a spinal point of view.
Spinal.
So most people should not do this. If most people do this, they will probably snap their shit up. But for me, it's fine because I've adapted to this. Because, I don't know, my spine is made out of whatever Wolverine's claws are made out of. Okay, so it's a little bit different. And just because you see this doesn't mean you should copy it. And I have enough intellectual honesty where I know that other people should not copy this. If you look at someone like Geoff Cavalier doing his round-backed deadlift, the only thing he was doing that for was ego, to shut the haters up. And the reason why I took great exception to that was because he said before that round-back deadlifting can get you injured. And yet, he did one on camera without saying that it is bad for some people. So, for me, if I show this, I'm doing it with a disclaimer that this is not going to be right for everyone. Survivorship bias shows up all the time. If I want to get frickin' huge calves, which I don't, but if I did, would I go to someone who has genetically massive calves? Probably not. I've seen some people walking around here in China who have like 18, 19, maybe even 20-inch calves. Just frickin' massive calves. Yet, they have probably never trained their calves a single day in their life, apart from maybe just walking. So, just because someone has an attribute that you want doesn't necessarily mean that they can help you get there. And this is why many elite athletes are complete garbage at coaching. They can do it themselves, but they can't actually help other people improve.
I have a treasure, but I cannot help other people get to it.
You hear about this all the time. You see this all the time. The vast majority of businesses fail, and yet you only see the successful ones. You rarely, if ever, hear about the failures. Heck, even if you Google trying to search for failures at business, what do you find? You find people who initially failed and then succeeded later. You don't hear about the ones who failed and then just kept failing, or failed once and gave up. You hear about the eventual successes. Even when you specifically ask something as smart as Google, right, for the failures. One weird thing that I think you should do, one weird trick, is to watch gym fail videos. Just take a few hours, maybe a few times, and watch a bunch of fail videos. These are failures. People, trying to squat on a Bosu ball and falling on their asses, or using the machine in the wrong way and the machine biting back, or even something a little bit more morbid, like someone snapping their leg on a way overloaded leg press. I mean, it's not pretty to look at, but it teaches you something. Okay, so you can learn just as much from failures, if not more from failures, than from the successes. And I try to post my failures. If I fail a rep, if it's just something that happens during a workout, I post that on my social media because it's part of the process. And if you look at most people's social media, it's only successes. It's just a tide of successes. They have no failures in their lives, no doubt, nothing. It's all 100% success. And so social media has actually made the survivorship bias problem even worse. Another thing you can do, which might be a little bit offensive, that guy at the gym who looks exactly the same as he did 5 years ago? Like, he's been training for 5 years and he wants to get big, he just hasn't gotten big. Go up and ask him, what's your training? What are you doing? Are you progressively overloading? Maybe don't be a dick about it. Actually, maybe don't do this at all. But it's like, in theory, talk to the people who have failed and try to figure out why they have failed. You're going to get just as much information from that as compared to the successes. We like underdog stories. We like success stories. If you look at most Hollywood movies, you'll walk out of the theater feeling pretty damn good, even if statistically, probably is kind of a lie. What are the odds that someone gets ousted by the Roman emperor, becomes a gladiator, freaking destroys everyone in his path, and eventually triumphs? Pretty low. I think in most iterations of this event, he would have gotten his face crushed in the first 10 or 20 minutes of the film. You know, that's a legit gladiator. Russell Crowe gets eaten by a tiger in minute 26.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So I guess the main takeaway is to seek out failure. Not for yourself, but try to find stories of people who failed, people who got injured, people who didn't reach their goals, people whose diets failed, because you can learn just as much, if not more, from those types of stories. There are more of them, for sure, but they're going to be more difficult to find. Just because in the modern world, success is something that is just much more highly visible. All right, so that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, turn those notifications on so that you decide what you watch, not the YouTube algorithm. And I will see you in the next video. Peace. Yeah.